Your dog is lying 3 feet away from you right now. You're on your phone, and from the outside, everything looks fine. But here's what's actually happening inside your dog's nervous system. It isn't resting. It isn't content. It is actively scanning you, reading your posture, monitoring your eye direction, waiting for any signal that you're still socially available. And every second you don't provide one, its nervous system registers something specific. The attachment figure is present in body, but completely gone in every signal that actually matters. This isn't a metaphor. Dogs don't experience the world through language or abstraction. They experience it through attentional cues, gaze, movement, focal responsiveness, postural orientation. When those signals go dark, the dog's social monitoring system doesn't stand down, it escalates. Your phone isn't distracting your dog. It's erasing you from its social field entirely while you're still sitting in the room. And that contradiction is precisely what makes this form of disconnection neurologically destabilizing for the animal. Most owners operate under a reasonable assumption. As long as the dog is fed, exercised, and physically present in the same space, it's doing fine. The logic follows. Dogs aren't children. They don't need constant stimulation. A calm dog in the same room as its owner is a comfortable dog. That belief is structurally incomplete. Physical proximity has become a substitute for attentional presence in most owner-dog relationships, and the dog's behavior is quietly documenting the difference every single day. The dog isn't simply tolerating your distraction. It's responding to it, with a behavioral sequence most owners never learn to read. Dogs are not generically social animals. They're specifically calibrated to read human attentional states, a capacity refined over roughly 15,000 years of coevolution with humans. Research from the University of Portsmouth's Dog Cognition Center has demonstrated that dogs track human gaze direction, body orientation, and attentional focus with a precision that rivals human infants. This isn't a learned trick. It's a hardwired social monitoring system. When that system detects that your attention has redirected consistently, repeatedly to a small rectangle in your hand, it doesn't interpret this as neutral downtime. It interprets it as a change in social field status. The dog isn't waiting. It is actively trying to read a social environment that has become unreadable, generating low-grade neurological uncertainty with every unresponsive minute. Here's the behavioral sequence, and it is precise. In the first few minutes of phone use, your dog will typically initiate contact, a nudge, a paw, a position shift closer to you. This is an attention-seeking probe. The dog is testing social availability. When that probe produces no response, the behavior escalates. Pacing, displacement behaviors, licking, yawning, sniffing the floor without purpose. These aren't random. They are the behavioral signature of a nervous system attempting to self-regulate under low-grade social stress. Then, if the pattern continues, something else happens. And this is where most owners misread the situation entirely. The dog stops. It settles quietly. It looks calm. When owners see this, the dog lying down quietly nearby during phone use, most interpret it as contentment. The dog is relaxed. It's mature. It's used to you being on your phone. That is almost certainly incorrect. What you're observing is behavioral suppression, the point at which the dog's nervous system has updated its predictive model. It has learned through repeated experience that social approach produces nothing. So it stops approaching, not because it's found peace, but because it has learned that social effort in this context is futile. This is the behavioral signature of what comparative psychologists call learned social futility, and it is meaningfully different from genuine relaxation. The physiology is different. The hormonal profile is different. The dog that looks calm may be, at the neurochemical level, anything but. There's a precise clinical distinction here worth drawing clearly. Studies measuring owner-dog interaction quality show dramatically different neurochemical profiles depending on whether the owner is actively engaged or passively co-present. When owners are attentionally present, dogs show higher oxytocin levels, increased social gaze frequency, and more frequent voluntary approach behaviors. When owners are physically present but attentionally absent, on a phone for instance, those same markers decline measurably. The question for your dog is never, are you there? It is, what signals are you broadcasting? And for an animal reading your social cues in real time, the difference between engaged presence and passive co-location registers as a fundamentally different social environment. Here is where the psychology becomes precise. Every time your attention shifts to the phone and away from the dog registers a consistent pattern. The object appears, the owner's social availability terminates. Over repetition, the phone itself becomes a conditioned stimulus. The dog learns to anticipate the social withdrawal before it fully arrives, triggering either preemptive attention-seeking or early withdrawal, depending on what the dog's history has trained it to expect. The dog hasn't anthropomorphized your phone. It hasn't decided your phone is a rival in any conscious sense. It has done exactly what its brain is built to do: identify a reliable pattern and prepare for the predicted outcome. In the dog's behavioral model, the phone is not a device. It is the reliable signal that precedes your disappearance. Here's the first common misconception worth dismantling directly. Most owners, when they recognize a problem, assume the dog needs more playtime, more walks, more physical stimulation. The fix, in the popular framing, is always physical, but the deprivation isn't physical, it's communicative. Dogs are not simply social recipients, animals that receive affection and respond positively. They are social interpreters, animals that require bidirectional signal exchange to feel located within their social world. Phone use doesn't just reduce petting or play. It eliminates the entire communicative field the dog depends on to confirm its own social standing. Your dog doesn't feel bored during extended phone sessions. It feels socially unanchored. And for a nervous system calibrated around social certainty, that registers as a meaningfully more destabilizing experience than boredom ever would. The second misconception, that compensating with intense affection after long phone sessions corrects the imbalance. It doesn't. It creates a different problem. Owners who follow extended attentional absence with sudden bursts of focused affection are, without intending to, running an intermittent reinforcement schedule. Behavioral science consistently identifies variable reward patterns as among the most psychologically destabilizing reinforcement structures possible in social mammals. The dog learns to oscillate between anxious anticipation and brief reward, with the anxiety becoming a reliable feature of the cycle rather than an occasional disruption. Meanwhile, owners who remain consistently low engagement across the day normalize attentional absence, gradually recalibrating the dog's baseline expectation of social responsiveness downward. Both patterns produce dysregulation through opposite mechanisms, and neither is the owner's conscious intention. The time-banking model of dog attachment is one of the most widely held and poorly supported beliefs in everyday dog ownership. The assumption is that an hour of dedicated, high-quality interaction compensates for 4 hours of phone-induced social absence, that the dog averages across the day and arrives at a net positive. Research on social bonding in dogs does not support this model. A dog's attachment system doesn't average. It responds to the current social field in real time, continuously. An hour of engaged connection followed by 4 hours of attentional blackout doesn't produce a balanced day. It produces a dog that has learned to brace for the disappearance that follows every period of connection. The underlying mechanism here is what some comparative researchers frame as social field dependency, the dog's fundamental requirement to exist within a consistently readable social environment. Unlike humans, who can cognitively contextualize a partner's distraction as situational and unrelated to their own social standing, dogs have no such interpretive layer. Every withdrawal of attention is registered at face value, not as rejection necessarily, but as a shift in social field status, a change in the communicative environment the dog relies on for psychological stability. Attentional consistency, for a dog, is not a preference or a luxury. It is a foundational requirement for stable neurological functioning. At the biological level, chronic attentional deprivation in socially bonded dogs produces measurable consequences: elevated baseline cortisol, reduced oxytocin release during physical contact, meaning that the physical affection you do provide becomes less neurochemically effective over time. Suppression of the dopaminergic reward response to social interaction, which gradually makes social engagement feel less intrinsically rewarding to the dog, even when that engagement is genuinely available. Veterinary behavioral research links chronic low-grade social stress in companion dogs to increased reactivity, disrupted sleep, and compulsive displacement behaviors, none of which resolve through more exercise. All of which trace back in socially bonded animals to the quality and consistency of the attentional environment they live inside. The fix is not more time, it is more structure, specifically 3 precision adjustments to how attentional availability is distributed. First, attentional anchoring. Brief, fully present interaction windows. No phone, no divided attention, no passive collocation that rebuild the dog's predictive expectation of genuine social availability. Not longer, just undivided. Second, transition signaling. A consistent behavioral cue before entering extended phone use periods. Something the dog can read as a reliable signal that the social field is shifting, allowing its nervous system to adjust rather than remain in low-grade monitoring mode indefinitely. Predictability is neurologically stabilizing. Unpredictability is not. Third, response acknowledgment. During phone use, when your dog initiates contact, a minimal but consistent response, a brief touch, a low verbal acknowledgment, is sufficient to confirm social field membership without reinforcing escalating attention-seeking. The dog doesn't need your full attention. It needs confirmation that it still exists in your social world. Here's what actually matters. Your phone has not replaced your dog in your affection, but it has replaced you in your dog's social field, repeatedly, predictably, in a way your dog's nervous system has been quietly adapting to for as long as the pattern has existed. A dog doesn't experience your phone as a competitor for your love. It experiences your phone use as your recurring departure from the only social world the dog is capable of inhabiting. The moment owners understand that presence is not physical but attentional, and that attentional absence is neurologically indistinguishable from physical departure for an animal built the way dogs are built, the relationship to their own phone use shifts, not toward guilt, toward something more deliberate, more honest, and ultimately more useful to the animal that has been reading your signals this whole time. Think about the last time your dog approached you while you were on your phone. What happened next? Did you respond? Did you wave them off? Did they eventually settle quietly and stay nearby anyway? That sequence, whatever it was, is data. It tells you something precise about what your dog's nervous system has already learned to expect from you. If you want to go deeper on how dogs actually read human behavior, the next video covers canine attentional science in detail, specifically how dogs distinguish between owners who are emotionally present and owners who are merely physically there. The difference is more detectable to your dog than you probably assumed.